Hey guys, it's me. I'm back, finally. I know you guys probably think I died or something, and I'm sorry. And also, if I keep looking at myself instead of the camera, I know it's awkward, but it's really hard to train yourself to not watch yourself on a camera. I hope you guys can hear me. I'm having to be quiet. It's literally the middle of the night. That's the only time that I have to record because I have two homeschooled middle schoolers and a crazy 3-year-old, so it's literally like midnight and I'm in here trying to film. So I know my last video I just kind of made it and dropped off, and that probably worried some people, and I'm sorry about that. This past year and a half has just been really crazy for me, and I had a lot of other stuff to focus on besides making YouTube videos. But I figured tonight I would do some makeup and tell you guys a little bit about what's going on, or what has been going on, and how it's going, and all that good stuff. So, okay, so I'm gonna start my makeup and try to talk and do my makeup at the same time, and we'll see how that plays out. I'm gonna put on some e.l.f. Poreless Putty Primer, the luminous kind. I don't know if this actually does anything or not, but I have it, so I'm using it. I also already put my eyebrows on because I cannot talk and put eyebrows on ever to save my life, so I'm not even gonna try. So in my last video I was shaving off my hair for chemo, and I didn't really go into any detail or tell you guys what was going on or make a follow-up video. After that, things just got really crazy really quick, and I didn't really even think about it until here recently, in the past month or so. I've gotten a few comments asking me how I'm doing and what's going on and stuff. So to give you a little very short backstory, when I was 9, I got diagnosed with a cancer called Ewing sarcoma, which is a juvenile bone cancer. It's pretty rare from what I've heard. And I went through chemo with that, 17 rounds of chemo, 1.5 years. I had something called a limb salvage surgery, which is basically where they try to get enough of the cancer out without having to amputate your limb. That was on my left ankle, and did all my treatments, got my surgery. It was terrible, it was rough, but then at the end of the day, I was cleared. I was considered cured. Now that type of cancer, usually if you get it again, it's within 5 years. It's in your chest cavity or your chest wall, and it's when you're still a kid. Well, in November of 2019, I was shaving my legs, and I noticed a lump. Like, it started right in the crease of my knee and went kind of down over the top of my calf, and it was probably the size of like half a baseball. And I thought that was weird, but I think partly I was in denial, and partly I just really thought, like, it's been 20 years. It's literally been 20 years. And believe you me, since it happened, I have done the research. I've reached out to people. I've done everything I can to try to figure out if this has ever happened to anybody before. And from what I can find, it hasn't. A 20-year recurrence on the same limb. So I ignored it for 8 months, which is kind of embarrassing thinking back about it. I mean, in all actuality, it should have spread through my body and I should have been terminal, but I was really lucky in that regard. I finally went to the doctor in May, I believe, of 2020, and I was like, hey, I have this weird lump on the back of my left knee. I wanted to get it checked out. And they were literally thinking, like, a lump. little baker cyst or something. I go in there and show it to the nurse, and she's like, that's a lot bigger than I expected it to be. I was like, yeah, it's been there for a while, and it doesn't hurt, and it's not, like, gotten any bigger or really done anything. It's just kind of been there. So they sent me for an ultrasound on it. Was the first test I got done. And I knew when I left the ultrasound office that I had cancer again. I called my mom in the parking lot, like, completely having a meltdown. Like, I could tell by the way the lady was looking at me. I could tell by the way she was talking to me, like, this is cancer again. And my mom was like, well, just wait, you know, it could still be fine, you know. But I knew, deep down I knew. And in my mind, I was like, okay, this stuff is pretty aggressive. It spreads pretty quickly. I've left it sitting on my leg for 8 months. It's already, you know, the size of an orange. Like, this is not good. Like, this is not good. So I went and had a biopsy done. They sent me to a orthopedic oncologist. And they did a biopsy, and they did MRIs, and they did all this and that and the other. And came back, you have a blue cell sarcoma. We're not exactly sure which one, but we're almost positive it's Ewing's again. And I just, like, was in utter disbelief. Like, who does this happen to? Like, how does this shit happen to me? Like, how does that make any sense? It's been literally 20 years. It's the same freaking leg 12 inches away from where it was the first time. Like, shit like this doesn't happen to people, but apparently it does. Sorry, I gotta get in close. I don't have a mirror. I forgot a mirror, so I'm totally using my screen as my mirror. So anyway, they sent me to an oncologist, and this whole time I'm waiting for him to tell me it's stage 4. It's, how do you say it? Metastasized or whatever in your lungs. You know, I was waiting. I was waiting for terminal. I was waiting to hear terminal the whole time. But it ended up being stage 3B, which is the stage right before it, like, starts spreading through your body. And like I mentioned earlier, it's a bone cancer. The first time I got it, I noticed the lump, went to the doctor, got an x-ray. It was not attached to the bone. Within 2 weeks, it had attached to one of the bones in my ankle and started eating through it. And I couldn't even walk on my leg anymore because they were afraid it would break. This thing had been sitting on the back of my leg for around 8 months. And by the way, it came up like super quick. I mean, I literally shaved my legs. It wasn't there at all. Didn't notice anything. 3 or 4 days later, shaved my legs again. It was there, full size, like just popped up out of nowhere. So, anyway, it had been sitting on my leg for 8 months. I expected it to have done some damage, but it was just sitting there on top of my muscle. Hadn't attached to the bone, hadn't destroyed anything. It's just chilling. Guess waiting for its opportunity to kill me, but it didn't get that opportunity. So pretty quickly after they diagnosed me, I started chemo. I had a port put in, which is like, trigger warning, scar incoming. Let's see if I can show you guys. Yeah, that big gnarly scar right there. It's a little disc that sits under your skin that they can put a needle into to deliver chemo and take blood and all that, because one, if chemo gets on your skin, Okay, I've been doing this foundation for way too long. I'm getting too busy talking, but it'll be nice and blended. But if chemo gets on your skin, it will literally burn your skin off and give you like 3rd-degree chemical burns. And also, when you're on chemo, you're usually so like anemic, and you know it's hard for them to get veins on you. So they usually give you something like a port to help with all that. So they put my port in, and then I'm really horrible with dates. I have ADHD, like legit ADHD. I got diagnosed this past year actually, and I can't remember specifics of really anything. So I'll give you a vague timeline, but dates elude me. So in June of 2020, I started treatments. Now they had planned, I started chemotherapy treatments. They had planned on doing the same kind of protocol that they had done for me when I was a kid, which I know the names of all the medicines, but they wouldn't mean anything to you, so I won't bother trying to list them off. Basically, I would have one treatment where I would be in the hospital for 3 to 5 days. Then I would be off for 2 or 3 weeks for my blood counts to come back up, and then I would have a day treatment that I just went in the office to get. And the way they did it the first time, they did it similarly this time. I was going to have 6 or 7 treatments, have the tumor resection, which was removing the bulk of the tumor as much as they could, and then finish up the chemo to get rid of any, lingering cells or whatever. So we did the 5 or 6 treatments. I don't remember which one it was. I think it was 6. But we did those, and it was time for surgery. And I went in, got the surgery, was a little more radical than I expected it to be. I have a scar going from about the middle of the back of my thigh down to about the middle of my calf. Like, it's a big scar. They went all the way down the back of my leg, basically. And, oh yeah, I'm just sitting here with concealer on because I'm letting it sit and dry a little bit before I blend it in. So I went in, had the surgery. They did the pathology on the tumor, and chemo wasn't working. They had expected around 80 to 90%, if I remember correctly, necrosis of the tumor. So basically cell death of the tumor, and it was less than 10. So not only this tumor I had just didn't in any way act like it was supposed to. It didn't grow, it didn't spread, it didn't eat into my bone, but it also didn't respond to chemotherapy. The first go around, by the time they did my surgery, it had like a really high necrosis, like 70-80%, and I got clean margins, which means they were able to take out enough tissue on either side of the tumor that when it was tested, there were no residual cancer cells whatsoever. It was all taken out. So this time we found out chemo wasn't working, and I did not have clear margins. Because of where it was like sitting on the back of my knee, there's a lot of like, I guess, blood vessels and nerves and stuff like all right there. And it was sitting on top of the nerves that control my lower leg and a major artery, and my orthopedic oncologist told me, like, if we would have taken it all out, you would have drop foot, which is basically where it's exactly what it sounds like. You can't control your foot anymore. It just hangs there. Oh yeah, and to backtrack a little bit, originally my oncologist wanted me to amputate. Like, she didn't come out and say, yeah, you need to amputate your leg, because a doctor's not going to do that. But she strongly kind of was going in that direction, like wanted me to go to a company and learn about prosthetics and, you know, was really kind of pointing in that direction. But ultimately, after talking with my doctors and my family and everybody else, I decided to go with the tumor resection, and then if I didn't have clear margins, radiation, which is what ended up happening. So I probably would have had to have radiation anyway because the chemo wasn't really working. Like, I'm not really sure, but anyway, my margins weren't clear, so that meant it was radiation time. So 3 weeks after this major surgery on my leg, I started radiation, which was horrible. I think it was worse than chemo. And a lot of times while I was in, because they like to use the chemo and the radiation together because it works like synergistically or something. One makes the other work better and vice versa. So a lot of times I would be in the hospital getting chemo, and I would have to go down every single day to get radiation treatments. So I had a radiation treatment every single day except Saturday and Sunday for, I don't remember the exact, it was like the beginning of December to like the middle of January. I want to say 6 or 8 weeks of radiation. One reason it was so horrible for me, and this is something that I'm actually still dealing with to this very day, is because first off, the way that they had to do my surgery to get the tumor out. Okay, where was I? I'm having to film in my living room, so there's a little bit of traffic and I cannot talk to the camera while somebody's in here. Anyway, so like I had explained a little earlier in the video, not even a little earlier, like 2 minutes ago. Anyway, the way they had to do the surgery, because of where it was at, they had to cut right down the crease of my knee. And as you can imagine, that's an extremely difficult part of your body to heal. I guess I'd never really thought about it, but it's constantly being agitated and moved and been, you know, stretched and whatever. And the skin right there is also very thin. So they started this radiation 3 weeks after my surgery. So I was not, like, by any stretch of the imagination, healed up. And okay, TW, I'm about to do some kind of gross talk here. I know some people can't handle that stuff. Basically immediately the incision started coming open and started getting really irritated, and I started getting infections, and it was honestly one of the grossest things I've ever seen in my life. It was absolutely horrible. But I didn't have any choice. I had to do the radiation. And also, just want to interject here for a second and say, I understand it's taking me a very long time to do my makeup right now, but I'm really just doing it to have something to do with my hands, and I guess something for you to look at while I'm just running my mouth. Also, I meant to mention, this foundation is amazing. 10 out of 10. Highly recommend. So, did the radiation, had the surgery, did chemo, had surgery, started radiation, finished up the radiation in January, and I was under the impression that when the radiation was over, they were going to complete my chemo treatments, because technically I should have had like 8 more probably, but they decided that since it wasn't really working in the first place, that they just weren't going to bother. No more chemo. And also, the last chemo treatment that I had, I got something called a neutropenic fever, which is basically where you have, I'll just give you, not assuming that anybody doesn't know this stuff, but just in case you don't. Your red blood cells carry oxygen to your body. Your platelets help to stop bleeding, and your white blood cells fight infection. That's just a very, very simple explanation. So a neutropenic fever is basically where you have so few white blood cells in your body that you cannot fight off any infection whatsoever. So basically, anything in my body that was kind of irritated at the time got infected and got really angry. Like, I had some weird stuff going on. My gums right here in the front, like, got infected really bad, and now I have, like, gum loss there, and I'm gonna have to have surgery for it. And some glands that I didn't even know existed, you know, got really irritated. Anyway, it was a really weird experience. I was in the hospital for 3 days, 2 or 3 days, and it was just getting to the point where the chemo was just being really, really hard on my body. So they figured if it wasn't working anyway, there's no point in continuing to put your body through that, because it's obviously not handling it well. So no more chemo. Radiation was done. And that was basically it for my treatment. I mean, I go every 3 months now to get scans to make sure that nothing's trying to pop back up, and they've all been really good so far. I'm hoping it stays that way. The last time that I was sick and had treatment and stuff, and as soon as I got off treatment, they considered me in remission. This time I asked my doctor about it, which he's a good guy. He's a good doctor, but he has a lot of patience, and he apparently, I prefer to work with his assistant. She's a lot more clear about things and easy to talk to. But apparently he has a few patients right now that have what I have, and I think sometimes we all kind of blend together in his head, and he says things to me that don't necessarily pertain to me. So I need to ask his assistant this question. But when I asked him, you know, am I in remission now, or, you know, what's going on? And he was like, oh, give it 5 years and then we'll talk remission, which I thought was strange. So, I just had a brain fart. So I guess right now I'm considered no sign of disease, is what they call it. And the saga with my leg and the plethora of issues I've had from having surgery and then massive amounts of radiation, one on top of the other, continues. Honestly, I never thought I would think this or say this, and I don't say this flippantly whatsoever. If I had it to do all over again, I probably would have done the amputation. Just because my leg is kind of totally bummed now. My ankle, I already had, you know, I said the word earlier, but I didn't really explain too much about it. I had the limb salvage surgery when I was 9, which is where they ended up taking out 8 inches of my fibia, which is like the small bone in your leg, and I think 3 inches of my tibia, which is the big bone, and 2/3 of my ankle. And they replaced all that with rods, plates, and screws. So that leg was already kind of bummed anyway. And then after having this tumor resection and all the trouble I've had with that and the radiation right on my joint, I'm getting arthritis. The thing hurts all the time. I've had MRSA, like a full-fledged MRSA infection that was actually diagnosed 3 or 4 times this year. Late last year, it was healed up okay, and it was doing okay. It's never 100% held up. So it was pretty much healed up, and then I decided that it was time for me to go back to work. We're really lucky in the fact that the year before I got diagnosed, we actually built a house with my parents. So me, my 3 kids, my husband, and my parents all share a house. So we had more stability than we normally would have, but my husband has been, I've pretty much always been a stay-at-home mom. I've worked on and off, but I've always had the option to work when I needed to, and especially with inflation and everything being so crazy and expensive like it is, like, I really needed to go to work. So I went and got a job, and I was doing, they have some kind of word for it, but basically I was a personal shopper at a grocery store, at like a large box store where you go around and like get people's groceries for them and stuff. Which, if you guys didn't know, you should appreciate those people, because I did not realize when I applied for or accepted the job that I was walking on average 14,000 steps a day, which for some people might not be anything, but for somebody who, you know, is 6-8 months out from chemo and has a major incision on their leg that they're trying to heal up, it's kind of a lot. So actually, I think when I started that job, it was all the way closed up, but it was looking a little funky. And within 2 weeks of starting the job, my leg had completely, like, there was a wound there. I don't know. I'm trying to explain it without being like too graphic and gross, because I know some people can't handle like medical stuff. But so I went to the doctor. They said I had MRSA. They put me on antibiotics, sent me on my merry way. And that's when it all really began. Like, I literally have barely had a break from it since then. Hold on, my dog wants inside. Okay, so I hope she's quiet. At nighttime she goes into guard dog mode and she thinks she has to protect me from everything. I also just realized this is going to be a really long video. I'm sorry, I've got to work on cutting my videos down, but I didn't really know how to like talk about all this without just talking about it. I'm not good at scripting things or planning things out. I never have been. I always just, if I have something to say, I say it. And it's just easier for me that way. So anyway, the whole thing started after I started working, and I got my first MRSA infection, which is like a really intense antibiotic resistant staph infection. And they just kept trying to clear it up, Actually, by the time I ended up going to my orthopedist about it, I've had to pause so many times. Little homeschool kids ain't got no act right. They should be in the bed and they're up getting snacks and shit. So anyway, by the time I actually ended up going to my orthopedist, she was pretty upset because my oncologist had been kind of half-ass treating this issue with my leg this whole time, and she was like, I wouldn't try to do your chemo or your radiation treatment, so I don't know why they would try to deal with your wound. Anyway, I don't even remember the whole timeline of events. I just know got MRSA a couple of times, 2-3 times, took a round of antibiotics 2-3 times, and then it got really bad this past summer. I want to say it was in June, because my father-in-law and my sister-in-law came and visited, like right around the time this was happening. My sister-in-law actually ended up taking me to get surgery while they were here on vacation. So it started hurting really bad, and I knew the feeling. By this point, I had, you know, the issue. It had happened a few times. I knew what was going on. I really don't know what was going on with my orthopedist at this point, because for the most part in my experience, she's been a pretty good doctor, but for some reason, she just did not want to believe that I was having the trouble that I was saying I was having. It started hurting really bad, and then within the span of just maybe 3 days, I literally could not walk. Could not walk. And to make a long story short, it took me a week until... I really hate talking about the gross medical stuff on here. Like, I know a lot of people don't like that stuff, and I don't want to be weird, but literally I had a hole in my leg the size of a nickel. Like a hole. Like an inch deep in the back of my knee. Before I actually got her to be like, oh wow, hey, there's something going on. You should probably come in and see me. So I ended up having to have a debridement, which is where they go in and clear everything out and get everything all nice and clean in there. And then I had something called a wound vac installed, which was literally the biggest freaking nightmare. Like, I can't even explain. If you've never had one or seen somebody that has one, it's like a sponge that they pack down in it, and then they put this really, really tight plastic over the top of it, and then there's a vacuum that puts constant negative pressure on it. Yeah, it's not a good time, especially in the crease of your knee. Like, just imagine that for a second, in the crease of your knee. And I had that for 6 weeks, probably. And I mean, I haven't had any more major incidences with my leg. I've had MRSA that was treated one other time since that, and it still just is in this constant cycle of like, it'll heal up like 99, maybe not 99, 96% of the way, and then something will just irritate it, or, you know, the wind will blow in the wrong direction, or the humidity will be too high, and it just starts its shit all over again. It's just been this constant cycle for so long now, and I'm so sick of it. November was literally a year since I had my surgery, and it still is just like an ongoing battle all the time. And yes, if you're wondering, I'm using one brush to do my eyeshadow. I have more brushes laying here, but I do this all the time, because if you start with the lightest color and go to the darkest color, it really doesn't make a difference. So yeah, that's basically what happened with the cancer, and maybe I forgot some stuff. If you have any questions, feel free. I'm a super open, honest person, and I don't mind talking about basically anything. So if you have any questions, please feel free to ask them. I will not mind answering them in the comments. And life since then is basically went back to normal, because that's what happens when you have a disease like that. Is when it happens and when people find out about it, everybody starts feeling their own mortality, and they kind of want to rally around you and feel like they're doing something good for you. But then literally the second you walk out of the hospital after your last treatment, it doesn't matter to them anymore. Nobody's worried about it. Which is fine. I mean, the people who really are in my corner and really care about me obviously are still around and still, you know, helping me out. But some long-term things, I have chronic fatigue now. Like, I literally could sleep 18 hours a day every single day. Like, every single little household chore, daily task, anything seems absolutely daunting and overwhelming, and I'm just exhausted. I always have this one weird little corner that I can't get to all the time, and I'm hoping that just with time that will go away. I mean, chemo is a huge strain on your body, and is actually really, really terrible for you. So, you know, I can understand my body taking its time trying to get back to normal. But, you know, everything's pretty good now. I'm just trying to go back to as normal as I can. I feel like I've been trying to enjoy my life a little more. My kids are still homeschooled. I managed to homeschool them throughout the whole thing. And it was a lot, but I'm glad I did it. I'm glad I get to spend the time with them that I do. And I've picked up some hobbies. I've started crocheting, which I'm hoping, I might make some videos on that. Everybody, literally numerous people in my life have told me, like, you should do YouTube videos, you're so good at talking to people, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, but I don't know what to talk about. I don't know what people want to hear or see or are interested in, so I might try out some crochet videos. I watch a lot of crochet YouTube channels and I really enjoy them, but I know that's also kind of a niche thing. And I've started keeping plants. I've actually managed to keep houseplants alive for a significant amount of time, which I've never done before. I still have my chickens. They're doing good. We're having to build them. They were free ranged. They've always been free ranged, but we just keep having issues with predators, and I feel like it's not fair to them to just have them out there, you know, getting hurt and harassed and bothered. So we're about to have to put them on lockdown for a little while. I just got a new snake, a pet snake, which is something that I have wanted off and on for a long time. But my mom has always been, my whole life, it was like a well-known kind of giggled about fact in the family that she is absolutely batshit terrified of snakes. But she actually agreed. So, hold on. Let me pause and put on my eyeliner. Okay, sorry. Like I said, I'm using my phone as a mirror, and I didn't think that you guys wanted to see that up close and personal. I was going to go to nursing school in 2023. I was actually supposed to start this past fall, but there was a mandatory meeting, and it was the week that my leg went out and I couldn't walk, and it was horrible, and there just literally was no physical way possible for me to make it to this meeting, and I think I just jacked that up. I did not mean to drag that out like that. Okay, we might have a wing with it. Oh gosh. We're gonna mess it up in the last half, y'all. The last half is gonna go wrong. So I was supposed to go this year. Yeah, that doesn't look good. I have a black eye now. Oh well, just look at it from this far away and it's fine. Once I put some liner on the top, it'll be fine. But I was supposed to go this year and I missed that meeting. I had already turned in all my paperwork. Did I even say I'm talking about nursing school? I don't even know. I'm not built for multitasking. I had all my paperwork turned in. I had done really, really good on my entrance exam. They were excited to have me there, and then I missed that mandatory meeting, and that was it. I didn't get to go, and I had applied to go fall 2023, but I mean, unless my leg heals up and stays that way for like a significant amount of time, quite frankly, I don't see the purpose in trying to do it. Because I mean, if my leg keeps going the way it's going, there's no way I'm going to be able to have a career where I'm gonna be on my feet, you know, 10 hours a day or whatever. It's just not gonna work. So here's to hoping that 2023 is my year, because 21 and 22 were a little rough. Hold on, more eyeliner. I'm sorry. Okay, that's as good as it's gonna get. Done messing with it. And surprise, I've been using the monitor as a mirror this whole time, and I had a whole palette with a whole mirror in it. But so yeah, nursing school, been thinking about trying to do that, but considering the way things have been going for me, I have really been trying to focus on also being able to make my own money. I really want to put more time and effort into YouTube. I guess I just get a little intimidated by it, because even though I'm not that old, I mean, I know there are tons of people my age and older that do all the social media, internet kind of stuff. It's just really never been my thing, and I guess I don't know how to like be relevant or make content that people want to watch. But I'm also gonna start an Etsy shop for my crochet stuff, which I've really been getting into that. I'm making a blanket right now for my dad for Christmas, and I've been making some cute little stuffed animals for my nieces and nephews and stuff. So when I get that up and going, I'll let you guys know. And also, after the holidays, we have like a big huge building in our backyard. Well, it's not huge, but you know, it's big. And we're gonna build in half of that to make like a maker space for me, where I can film when it's not, you know, 1 o'clock in the morning, and have a place to store all my like crochet stuff and learn how to use my sewing machine and all that fun stuff. So I'm pretty excited about it. I'm staying positive that next year is going to be a good year. 2023 is where it's at. It's going to be my year. I'm determined. I normally don't say stuff like that because I feel like it's bad luck, but I just feel like there comes a point where it's like, give me a fucking break already. Like, please, just give me a break. Let me have 2023. I deserve it. So here's to hoping. I don't know. I'm trying to think of other things to blab about while I do this last tiny bit of my makeup. This video's already very, very long, and I apologize for that, but I just wanted to get all the information out there. And, you know, I know there are other people young and old that are going through this stuff, you know, cancer or whatever. They have children, they have families, and the only advice I can give people, being someone who has went through it twice, and who, for all intents and purposes, should not have survived it. Don't take it too seriously. Don't take yourself too seriously. The fact of the matter is that you have a life-threatening, horrible, serious illness. And this goes for any, you know, long-term, chronic, terminal, any kind of serious illness. The fact of the matter is, your life is serious enough as it is. I mean, you're dying. Even if you survive, you know, your treatments or whatever, while it's happening, technically, you're dying. Even the medication they give you to save your life is actively killing you. It's not an enjoyable experience. It's not fun for anybody. It sucks ass, to be completely honest. But with all that being said, don't you have enough, like, serious, terrible shit going on without making it worse. You know, moping and being sad and worrying constantly. And I'm not saying, I mean, I know how hard it is to not worry, but sometimes you can't take life so seriously. Like, have fun while you can. Make jokes. I'll tell you a joke that me and my kids had while I was on chemo. And this really might not be funny to some people. It might seem irreverent or crude or whatever. But that's fine. That's just how me and my kids are. We fuck around and we poke fun at everything. And nobody or nothing is safe from us. And my daughter's favorite musician at the time was Machine Gun Kelly. Don't need any personal opinions on Machine Gun Kelly. I'm aware. And there was a song he did with Youngblood called Body Bag. So put me in a body bag, or whatever. And we always used to joke that when I died, they were going to play that at my funeral. And we just thought that was hilarious. Because, I mean, I don't want to be a broken record. I feel like I've made my point. Just try not to take yourself or what's going on around you too seriously. Because life makes shit serious for you whether you want it to or not. So why mope around and make that worse? That's how I deal with everything though. And I'm not saying it's healthy, but it is what it is. It's hard to cry when you're laughing. Unless you're crying because you're laughing, and then, well, anyway, you get what I'm saying. If there's anybody out there dealing with a severe illness themselves or a severe illness of a child, like, feel free to reach out to me. I know how isolating it can feel and how you can feel like the only person on earth that's experiencing this thing at this exact moment. I went through my treatments with 3 kids at home, 2 kids I was actively homeschooling while I was on treatment, and at the time, 1.5 to 2 year old that is absolutely batshit insane. Like, I can't even describe it in a way that you would probably believe me how ridiculous my youngest is. But it was a lot. I mean, most days were just survival days, but I made it through it, and now I appear to be pretty healthy. So hopefully it'll stay that way. I mean, it does end, not to be morbid, but one way or another, it's gonna end. And you're gonna be either okay or you're not gonna care anymore. So, you know, I found taking a more lighthearted approach to more serious subjects it's easier for me. It helps me wake up in the morning and get through life. So, now I just feel like I'm rambling. But, my makeup's done. So, I think it looks very nice. I was going to do some lipstick, but I'm not going to make you guys sit here and listen to me try to fill the airwaves while I put on lipstick. So, I'll just throw on a little lip stain. I'm really horrible at putting on lip products, so don't judge me. I like this stuff. It's like stained glass something from Wet n Wild. Okay, that's it. So, I hope I answered you guys' questions. I hope I clued you in on what's been going on with me when I just announced that I was starting chemo and then dropped off the face of the earth for 1.5 years. Hopefully I'll have more content coming soon, and hope I answered. I think I already said that. Anyway, if you have any more questions, or you want to reach out, you want to talk to me, anything, whatever you need, leave me a comment and I will get back to you. And please like and subscribe. Help me grow my channel. Help me not be a broke bitch because I'm sick and poor and I can't work. I would really appreciate it. And everybody have a good one.